One of the best things about seafood stew is that it's so versatile. You can use your favorite fish and shellfish in it. Today we're going to use sea bass and shrimp and some scallops. But it all starts with the aromatics. So we've got some onion and garlic sautéing, along with some red potatoes to give it a little bit of heartiness to the soup. We'll let that go about 8 minutes. And then we're going to add some color and crunch with some yellow bell pepper and a little red bell pepper. You could use green if you like. And we'll let this go just until the peppers soften up a bit. And while that's cooking, we're going to chop up our zucchini. You know, if it's out of season and you can't get a good zucchini, don't worry about it. You can leave it out or add something else instead. But we'll just dice that up. Again, you could be flexible with your vegetables as well. Whatever is in season, whatever is a family favorite, just go ahead and add it or omit it, as the case may be. And just cook it until the zucchini is a little bit tender and soft. You can see all of the good color. Good color always means good nutrition. It also makes for a more interesting dish visually. So it's important to think about adding that to the soup. And once the zucchini is a little bit softer, we're going to add the liquid to our soup. And of course, a little bit of wine really enhances the flavor of the seafood and the soup in general. Make sure that you add a wine that you would actually drink. That's really important. And some clam juice. This is sort of a secret little ingredient for all kinds of things. Nobody's going to make their own fish broth anymore. There's all kinds of clam juices available or fish bouillon, but it really adds a taste of the sea to your dish, so don't skip this one. And then we're also going to use some diced tomatoes. Keeping a lot of tomato product in your cupboard can make a lot of dishes come together easily for you. Oh, this smells good. That clam juice makes it a little bit seaside-like, and a bay leaf. And we'll stir this in, and this will simmer about 30 minutes. Everything will get nice and soft and fragrant and ready to add our seafood. And I've got one that's already simmered. You can see it's thickened up a little bit. Smells really good, so we'll let that go while we get ready with our seafood. Got some sea bass, and we're going to talk about how to pick the best fish and seafood when we have a visit with the fishmonger later in the show. And I'm just going to cut this into about 1.5 inch pieces. And it'll cook very quickly. We definitely don't want to overcook the fish that we add. About 5 minutes and all our fish will be done. Our shrimp is ready to go. We're using a medium or a large shrimp in this. The bigger the shrimp, the more definitely you do have to devein it. Little tiny shrimp, don't worry about it so much. It's personal preference. But the bigger the shrimp, the bigger the grit track, and you really don't want to eat that. And then also we're using some scallops. Now there's 2 different kinds of scallops out on the market. And you can see that one is quite large and one is pretty little. This is a bay scallop and this is a sea scallop. And the way that I remember the difference is that a bay is a very teeny area compared to the ocean or the sea, which is big. So bay scallop, sea scallop. In either case, you do want to make sure that they have a very nice, fresh, sort of almost sweet aroma, and you're looking for a nice pink scallop that's not pure white. Pure white means it's been soaked in water, and you really don't want that to have plumped up the scallop for you. But so these will be ready to add, and they'll cook very, very quickly. Don't let these go all afternoon, about 5 minutes for your seafood. Any juices that accumulate, add that to it. Add some good oceany flavor. While this cooks, we're going to cut our basil. You know, fresh herbs are available pretty much year-round now, and I would recommend using fresh basil for this. I would not substitute dry. And you can keep it nicely for quite a while. There's a couple of storage techniques. One, you can wrap fresh herbs in a dampened paper towel and then put that whole thing in a Ziploc bag in the fridge. That works well. One of the things that I like to do is treat it like it's a bouquet. And so I put it right in a glass of water, or a vase of water, if you will. And then I put it in a Ziploc bag in my fridge so that it's kind of like a terrarium, its own little environment that'll keep it fresh for about a week. So you just pop it in the glass, zip up your Ziploc. It'll keep like that for about a week. Now the way that we're going to slice the basil for the soup today is called chiffonade. And chiffonade is simply thin strips of any vegetable or lettuce. It's a French term. It means to rags, I think, but it's little tiny strips. And you do that by stacking your basil leaves, and then you're going to roll them up, sort of like a cigar. And then take your knife and just run across the basil. And this has to be done last minute. Don't do this ahead or it's going to bruise the basil and get dark edges. Just run it across. Now, if you garden and you've got a lot of basil left over at the end of the season, you can store these covered with a little bit of olive oil and then frozen in ice cube trays or other small containers. It'll never have quite the same consistency of fresh basil, but it'll add fresh, great flavor to almost any dish that you want to add it to. So we'll pop in the basil. And this is almost done. I'm not looking for my shrimp to be tightly curled. Sometimes that means the shrimp is overcooked. I'm looking for just when the tail starts to curl in and make the C. Almost there. And while that finishes up, I'm going to slice up our garnish, which is some thinly sliced green onions. You can find this complete recipe and more seafood tips on cetconnect.org. Just click Amy's table. I think you'll find even the kids will eat this one. A little green onion, and dinner's ready.